Hey folks, you're listening to episode 25 of the Deeply Devoted Podcast, a ministry of the E-Free Church of Bemidji, Minnesota. My name is Eric Nygren, and I'm one of the pastors on staff here at E-Free Bemidji. And my guest today in the Deeply Devoted Podcast studio is Alan Castor. Alan serves with a team of volunteers here at our church in our Trail Life ministry. And so we want this to be kind of a ministry moment episode. And so we're going to explore a little bit about what Trail Life is, what it's all about, and even how does Trail Life fit with our mission of becoming deeply devoted followers of Jesus together. So Alan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to get into this. I want to talk about Trail Life. I want to talk about all the ins and outs here, but we should get to know you a little bit first, Alan. Alan, tell us maybe a little bit about you, your family. When did you start coming to E-Free Bemidji? Where'd you move from? Things like that.
Sure. Well, my wife Jessica and I have been married for, it's going to be 25 years this coming July. We have five children, 4 sons, 1 daughter. From ages 8 to 19. So we've got a pretty good range there, and it's been quite the blessing. Let's see, when did we come to Bemidji? We got here right before COVID, so early 2020. I think it was January 4th, I think, was when we arrived. So that was fun, moving in the winter. We moved from Reno, Nevada. We spent 6 years there. And prior to that, we're originally, my wife and I are from Northern California, and since being married, we moved around a couple times.
Okay.
I went to trade school down in Phoenix, so we lived there for a couple years. Moved back to California, worked there for about just shy of 10 years, and had enough of California.
Yeah.
I had a twin brother that was stationed in Alaska, and the wife and I were out in a canoe. We were at a Christian family Christian camp, Lake Hume, I believe is what it's called. And we decided, the kids were, I think it was just my 2 oldest kiddos at the time. They were fairly young. They were in like a kind of like a childcare type thing, day camp thing. And so the wife and I were able to go out on this canoe. Growing up, just really loved the outdoors. So out in a canoe, and we saw these fish jumping, a bunch of trout, and I had just come back from Alaska visiting my brother. He graduated school up there. And so I was like, man, and why don't we just go? Why don't we just move? Sure enough. So we did. So we moved to Alaska.
Oh boy.
So spent a couple years there. But the work I do, I was just gone too much. So we left. We moved back towards California, and that's when we ended up in Reno.
Okay.
Spent 6 years there. And then, just many different events, and the Lord was just kind of led us for something different.
Yeah.
And we started and the craziest thing, I actually had a sawmill. And I wanted to find a place. I was living in northern Nevada. Okay. Not a lot of trees right there proper, And I wanted to move to a place a little bit slower, a lot of trees, smaller community. And so we looked at a few different states and different places, and Bemidji, here we are. I didn't even know where Bemidji was, how to say Bemidji.
I didn't either. Yeah.
So we pulled the plug middle of the winter. I don't know if that was the best idea, and getting back to the sawmill and Justin, if you're listening to this, you're gonna get a kick out of this. I know, because I've said sawmill now 3 times. Little inside joke with him, but the sawmill was actually destroyed in the move here. It got T-boned by a FedEx truck.
Oh.
Coming through Montana. So, but I think that was the Lord actually, honestly. The sawmill originally was the motivation, one of many, for us to move here. But I think the Lord kind of removed that from my scope, from my my daily, things that I wanted to do, and that made room for other things.
Yeah.
And I think if I had that sawmill still, I wouldn't have made the time.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So it opens up a a little margin in your life.
It does. It does. So, and then we, we visited, a couple other, one other church, and then, but just the folks here, the pastoral staff, and just the staff in general. But I appreciate the preaching. It had been a while. We did not establish a home church. When we were in Reno, we just didn't have it just didn't feel like home, and E-Free did, and then it got crazy because of COVID.
Yes.
But we hung out through that, and a lot of changes there. But this is where we need to be.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in the Lord's timing too. Yeah, I remember when you guys came toward the beginning of the year, and then. Yeah, with 3 months later, we closed up shop for a bit, went live stream only, and so it's hard to get to know people on the other side of a live stream camera. So, but it was good. I think we kind of opened things back up that summer. I wouldn't say back to normal right away, but at least, people in the building. So, and then, I guess the rest is history as you guys have been here, you and your kids, and, both you and Jessica have jumped right in, found ways to plug in and get connected here. And that's been great. I was a little worried, you're talking about living out west and all these warmer climates. And I thought, man, what would have moved you to the northern climate here, but I guess maybe a little of Alaska mixed in.
Exactly. When I tell people when they find out I moved from Nevada, they're like, "Why would you move here?" I was like, then I tell them that I lived in Fairbanks for a couple of years. They're like, "Oh, okay, we get it."
So you're not immune to the cold and the snow and the winter.
I enjoy it. I like the northern climates. Northern Minnesota is very Alaska light. There's a lot of similarities. Not quite the extreme, some of them, but it's very similar. Well,
it's for as much as we kind of joke and make fun of the weather and the climate here, it is a great place to live. I mean, I admit, yes, there are a couple of days like today when it starts out at about 25 below, but you get through those and then you have some pretty great days. Well, let's jump in a little bit about Trail Life itself. And really the goal here is helping our church family to not only get to know you, Alan, but get to know this ministry. Alan, can you tell us a little bit about when our church even just started to start thinking about forming a Trail Life troop? And how did we get from there, back whenever that was, to where we are today?
Sure. Yeah, so let's start with a little bit about me, further back here. So I started out, I was involved in Boy Scouts as a youth. My twin brother and I jumped into, I think it was Cub Scouts. It would have been like our second year in Weeblos. So, it was about 10, I think we're around 10, 9.5, 10 or so. And then it wasn't long after, about 10 and a half, I think we jumped into Scouts, Boy Scouts, with a local troop in the town we were in, of course. And, we spent, I guess it would have been 7 years, 8 years, 8 years in Scouts. And it was a great opportunity. I mean, we, growing up, my dad would take us hunting and fishing and camping. But that was about it. He didn't, he unfortunately wasn't involved in scouting with us, but we still nevertheless had just a great experience. So fast forward, married, our first son, let's see, I guess he would have turned 10 or 11. I guess it was at 11. And scouting came back into the picture. I was like, well, let's jump in, so we got him started in Scouts at a local, actually, that we were in Reno, and loved it. I mean, he just excelled, did awesome. And of course, I'm not going to just stand by. So I jumped in. I was more just an assistant, helping out, and things happened, and they asked me to jump into more of, leadership role and as a scoutmaster. So we did that for a bit. So we did that for a few years, and then we moved here. And trying to pick that up again made it very difficult. at this point now, my two oldest boys, it was really hard for them to get traction, just because, teenage boys, it's just they had made a bunch of friends and their peer group is now gone.
Yeah.
So it was tough. So we stepped away, but then I just still, the Lord was still leading me to find something similar, something outdoors, that some other organization that the boys can be part of. And that led me down the trail of, I jumped on Google and looked up outdoor Christian program or groups or whatever. So, when I Googled that, I found Trail Life USA. I'm like, what is Trail Life USA? I hadn't heard of it. So I started doing a bunch of research and then realized that, this was a group of individuals back in 2013 and probably a little bit before that who had become pretty, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, let's go this way. So it was created. So Trail Life USA was created in response to the decision by the BSA, who voted to change its membership policy to allow youth of any sexual orientation. So that was the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah,
there had been many things prior to that, but that was really the final nail. And so many of the people who formed this new organization were involved in the BSA at either the local, regional, or national levels. I can't remember the numbers. There's at least 40 of them, that got together. So there was, this group of Christian men and women that were concerned over this new policy change, the latest and greatest, the latest one. And so they began this. They actually partnered up with American Heritage Girls, American Heritage Girls was started in the mid to late 90s, in the 90s, in response to the Girl Scouts.
To the Girl Scouts,
So a lot of changes.
So similar
there.
Kind of looking for an alternative program. Yeah.
Exactly. So they partnered with American Heritage Girls and really got off the ground with their help. I just continued to read everything I could about Trail Life USA. There's been a couple other programs I looked at, and I just couldn't find something that really made sense to me. So on their website, on Trail Life's website, there's, hey, find the nearest troop. Find a troop near me or something like that. Yeah. So I clicked the button and I was like, ooh, Fargo or Duluth. Well, that's
a little bit of a commute.
It's about 3 hours in either direction. It's like, oh man, and I knew in my heart, I knew what that meant. I knew that we don't have something like that here. I'm really liking the sound of this program. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that I need to do something? So after some prayer, and even talking with, my wife, Jessica, of course, it's like, man, I think the Lord's leading me to do this. Yeah. What do you think? And, so we decided, so Jessica and I had spoke, and we reached a decision to, let's go and do it. Let's jump in. So I proceeded with the start a troop function on their website, and that initiated the process. They sent me a welcome packet. It was a box of goodies, samples of the different books and the different literature and so forth, who I needed to talk to, how how do you start a troop? They got me in contact with some local folks in Minnesota. I was like, okay, so now the next step is finding a chartered organization. Well, similar with scouting, you have to have a chartered organization. You have to have an owner, if you will, of the program. And in Trail Life, you need to be either a Christian church and or a Christian school. The chartering organization, needs to agree to Trail Life's statement of faith and values, which makes sure that each organization is in alignment with their core Christian principles. So fast forward 18 plus months of planting seeds here with the church staff and the elders. Everything was approved.
Yep.
And we started August 1st. So we officially chartered August 1st, 2022. And, I have to give a big shout out and thank you to the elders. who approved this ministry here at E-Free.
Yeah, and I remember being a part of that process of just, again, we didn't know what it was, and, we didn't want to just bring something new on just because. And so to really think through, is this something that's worth bringing on as a ministry, as something that will partner with what we're trying to do discipleship-wise? Yeah.
And working, just so Wednesday nights. So seeing a lot of the boys, youth group, not middle school, high school, but for the younger boys, it's Wednesday nights, and I could see there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of pent up. They're boys, right? And I was like, man, this would be great. This is just another avenue, and obviously we never wanted to compete with any other ministry, any other
complement what we're
wanted
doing.
To exactly. Yeah. So that was part what we were trying to shoot for as well, and we have a lot of crossover amongst our ministries, which is awesome. Yeah. Both adults and youth. And then so I want to get back. So the whole charting process and forming a troop committee was key. We had to get that figured out, and the elders board, I want to thank them so much for just, prayerfully considering this and deliberating this. And honestly, it was a little, for me, it was a little slow of a process, but the Lord's teaching me
that's not uncommon around here. We take our time to make our decisions.
Yeah. But no, it was super exciting when it came down. So, and then also the original, our troop committee that was formed, I just want to thank, Mark, Steve, Danny, Dan, and of course, Pastor Eric, for getting this off the ground, because, without folks giving their time and a lot of time, this wouldn't have happened. So, and then, let's see. So after all these troop committee meetings, we got, everything figured out. We had our first troop, our open house, September 20th of 2022. We had a pretty good showing. And
I remember that. It was a good event. Yeah.
We had 24 by the end of that, we had 24 boys who had signed up. Yeah. And, a handful of more adults. So, yeah. Yeah.
Good. And it's just been fun to see that grow and develop, and just see the progress even since those idea days to when we chartered and got this thing going. Well, you mentioned earlier, kind of your scouting days back in the day, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and even if we're not familiar firsthand with some of that, I think most people have heard, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and things like that. Have a picture there, but give us a little bit of a picture of trail life. What age group of boys is this really designed for?
Okay, so that's a loaded question, because there is so much information out there, and I tell you, Trail Life, their literature and different things they put out can answer this a lot better than I can. So I'm going to read this. This is from right off their website. Okay. They have like a Q&A section. Okay. So here we go. So this is a quote. So Trail Life USA partners with churches and parents across America as the premier national character development organization for young men, which produces generations of godly and responsible husbands, fathers, and citizens. In over 1,200 churches in all 50 states, fathers and sons are connecting, relationships are deepening, communities are being impacted, and legacies are beginning as a new generation of godly leaders rises up. And it continues. Trail Life USA is where boys thrive. Adults are equipped to lead a program in a structured outdoor environment where boys are engaged in real-world challenge and experience camping, hiking, and fishing. They develop skills in riflery, archery, canoeing, etc., and learn character and leadership in a practical, hands-on manner that is naturally engaging in the outdoors. In the outdoors, the experience of adults is never obsolete. Boys find mentors, fathers and sons connect, important relationships are fostered, and boys find opportunity to achieve significant accomplishments. So this is designed for, so basically our program here is from ages 5 to 17. However, some troops opt, Trail Life does allow for another group, the ages 18 to 25. This is called their Guide On program. And it is a co-ed for both young adult men and women, so college age. Yep. Okay. So, but for now, our focus is ages 5 to 17.
Okay, so we've got and if you're here on an evening, we'll talk a little bit more here in a second about what that looks like. But we've got younger boys all the way up through our high school boys and everything in between. And just my understanding too, it really is. I remember when we started to roll this out, it wasn't a one-size-fits-all program that we could obviously do, for a certain age group if we wanted to, and probably based on the boys and the young men that we had, of which groups and how many leaders and things like that.
Yeah, so. Trail Life gives us because the church, so E-Free is, they are the owner
we're
of this
the charter organization.
So as long as we stay within basic guardrails, Trail Life gives us the flexibility to run the program as we see fit, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I heard you say just in that description a little bit, things like character formation. It's not just an outdoor program, but that's a key element of it. But helping boys to mature, and certainly there's a faith aspect to this. It's not just about teaching boys to be good little boys and good young men and proper citizenship and things like that. But there's not just a faith component. There's a overarching faith umbrella over the whole thing. Alan, maybe you could talk a little bit about how Trail Life integrates faith formation into the things that we might expect a troop like this to take part in. We think about a troop scouting, tying knots and building campfires and going on a hike or something like that. But how does faith formation and discipleship fit into all of that?
It starts with the men that have come alongside, the adult leadership that we have, all the volunteers. There's life experiences that they bring. With them, and we have just an awesome group of guys. So as they're going through the different stages of the programs, to tying knots, to building the campfires, to going through first aid or whatever, the program has laced within it many faith aspects. How does a certain thing apply? They actually reference Bible verses in their requirements. Okay, as you're going through, how does this apply? Look in chapter, verse. How to right. Yeah. So with that aside, it is definitely laced in. But I think for me, what I see, what's most important, is the men that step up, the men that are guiding and teaching these boys. Yeah. Whether it's a 5-year-old, up to our 17-year-olds. Yeah. I think that's the biggest part, and it's the human factor. We can, they have some great literature, they have some great books, but I think it's just the personal level that these men, the relationships that the adults build with each other, but with the boys as well. It's a safe place. So I guess that faith. That formation is kind of a natural byproduct of having good men coming alongside.
Men who just come in there, they're not just sharing skills, but they're, as you're saying, they're mentoring. And, I think we've even seen some of that of just even some of the older, the young men, the older teens, some of that mentoring that's starting to trickle down a little bit.
And that's built into our, and we might be talking about this, but that is built into the program where this is a boy-led program. It's very similar to some other scouting programs. But the emphasis is making sure that the boys are leading their troop.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for. So the older boys primarily will be leading the troop, but they do that with the guidance, mentoring of the adult leaders.
Some of the adult leaders. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And there's all kinds of components to this. Outings. We'll talk about outings here in a second, but let's start just by talking about a Tuesday night at Trail Life. Alan, if we were to walk into this building on a Tuesday night when Trail Life is meeting, what would we see? What would a typical Tuesday evening look like?
And this is where it's fun. I've been involved in scouting for a long time, especially as an adult now too. And you could say any youth program, if it is not chaotic, we're doing something wrong. So,
there's some energy going
there's
on.
a lot of energy, especially with boys.
Yeah.
But this is why Trail Life is so needed and important.
Yeah.
We need a space for boys to be boys, and that's what Trail Life provides. It can be chaotic at first, especially before we get going. But we start, first and third Tuesdays of each month. So that allows for some overlap and so we have families that are very involved in many different ministries here. So we don't want ideally, the program's built around a weekly meeting schedule. So every Tuesday we would meet. But we've opted to do just twice a month.
Okay.
And we start our meeting. We have an opening flag ceremony. All the boys kind of line up in their patrols into their respective age groups. We have our first officer up front. He's the we'll just call him the boss of the troop.
Okay.
He leads the flag ceremony. We do the trailman oath. And then we have our troop chaplain. He's our adult troop chaplain will come up and say a prayer, and then that kind of kicks off our meeting. Any announcements or whatever after that, and then we kind of break up. So our younger boys are ages 5 to 10. So those are our Woodlands Trail boys. That program is 100% adult led. And Trail Life once again has done an awesome job with their let's call it curriculum, their program.
Yep.
And then they're going to be following these 7 different branches of focus, I guess.
Okay.
And let me see if I can get those real quick. So what those 7 branches are: heritage, hobbies, life skills, outdoor skills, science and technology, sports and fitness, and values. So each week, the adult leadership for the Woodlands, they choose which activity, which branch they're going to be focusing on.
Okay.
And the branches, to give you kind of the visual, it's an outdoor. It's literally the branches of a tree. So these 7 branches to kind of keep in with the outdoor theme. And then some during the night. Usually it's fairly early in the meeting. They will also have a devotional. So the troop chaplain will sit down with them for, they're pretty antsy little guys. So 5-10 minutes max. We'll do a devotional, and then and then we wrap up at the end, and everybody comes back together. So while the younger boys are in one part of the gym, and or outside, depending on the season, during the summer or whatnot. So the other age groups are 11 to 17.
Okay.
Those are our middle school and high school age ranges. So our navigators are our 11 to 13-year-olds. Our adventurers, high school age, would be our 14 to 17. They then go to a different section, a different part of the gym or outdoor, wherever they're meeting, and then they're more self-directed, still guided by adults, mentored, to kind of keep the guardrails there for them. And then they're more working on kind of advancement, different maybe trail badges, which I know we're going to talk about. So different kind of working through advancement. They might be talking about an upcoming event, doing more planning, scheduling. There's a lot of life skills that are learned.
Yep.
Ideally, we don't want to just be sitting in a classroom setting during these meetings. it does make it tougher in the winter to get outside. Ideally, we want to be sitting around out on the lawn or down by the fire pit or whatever, being outdoors for these. But it does make it tough for the winter. So
sure.
we are inside. And then, something I neglected to say with the younger boys, the Woodlands, they'll play a game as well. We're getting some energy out. They're going to be running. They're going to be, and Dan does just an awesome job with those boys. Keith and Daniel as well. They just do a great job with them. We try to send them home somewhat tuckered out, and the older boys jump in as well and play games with them, and that's just it's just awesome to see. Yeah. You don't see that in other organizations where the older boys they're given opportunities to mingle and mentor their younger, the younger boys. So it's a sweet thing to experience and see, and it's a natural progression, I think, for the older boys to want to teach and show the younger boys, because the younger boys are looking up to them.
Yeah,
so
they are. It is neat, just a neat environment. I know that once a month on a Tuesday, our Global Connections team meets in the fireside room, kind of catty corner to the gym, and so I'll see you guys coming in, or I'll hear kids running around in the gym, or just even see, I especially really get a kick out of it when I see the boys in their uniforms for the evening. There's something about it that just kind of captures your attention when, whether the younger or the older, but just seeing these uniforms. And it makes me think somewhere tucked away in a closet at home somewhere, I still have my Cub Scout uniform, and my Boy Scout uniform. I still have the sash with merit badges. Now, I didn't go all the way to Eagle Scout. There's times when I kind of regret that I didn't finish it. And then just even this weekend, I was somewhere and I saw some Girl Scouts, and they were in their uniform selling cookies, and they just oodles and oodles of badges and things like that. And I think when we think of scouting programs, that's what we associate. That's probably a first association, merit badges. That's all they're doing is earning merit badges. But I get the sense that Trail Life is a little bit different.
It is. There is certainly an advancement factor in both. I'm going to say both programs, and I'm referring to our Woodlands and then our older boys, which are kind of combined together, navigators and adventurers. I've kind of changed back and forth with this. The advancement is not the focus for me. If a boy wants to come and if he wants to hang out and obviously he needs to be part of and not be a distraction and so forth. But if he wants to just be there, hang out and glean what he can, whether he knows it or not, I'm okay with that. If the boys want to come and jump in and do anything and everything they can and do every single possible merit, or I see, there you go. It's not a merit. Right. So merit badges, that's not a thing in Trail Life. They call them trail badges. They are similar. You got to remember a lot of this program was designed and created by we'll call them scouters, folks that were involved in the scouting, the BSA. So there are a lot of similarities there, but once again, going back, the biggest differences here are the faith component. Every single advancement step, whether it's the different ranks for the older boys, the younger boys, there's no advancement per se. They're going to earn their they get a branch pin. Yeah. So going back to those 7 branches, they have to meet some. Basically it's by attendance. If they attend and they're there and they go through the different lessons with the adults, they're going to earn these pins, and then they pin them on this cool little patch that has a tree on it. It's their branch patch. And so, but for the older boys, they earn trail badges instead of a merit badge. It's called a trail badge, and instead of going on a sash, they have what's called a standard. So it is a staff or a hiking stick or whatever. It's for ceremonial purposes. It's not to be used, out on the trail. It's more of a ceremonial piece.
Okay.
And so they actually get a medallion that actually gets tacked on to the walking staff or the standard. So they can adorn it with the other things and stuff, but it's primarily for that. And that's even where they would put their ranks as they go through the ranks. So that's a little different. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance, or we try to put a little, it's kind of a rite of passage to earn this,
some ceremony
staff,
to it.
And then as they go, so we want to acknowledge the boys' hard work and whatnot, and that's something we're still working on, trying to get a regular rhythm with our what we call court of honors.
Yeah.
To acknowledge these boys publicly as they're earning these different ranks.
Yeah.
And it just, there's so many different opportunities within Trail Life.
So there's the kind of the Tuesday night component to Trail Life, but I know that our Trail Life calendar has a lot more on it than what takes place on the first and third Tuesdays of the month. And I remember, as a youth, I have fond memories of my scouting days. That's where I got introduced to camping and hiking and backpacking. And we did some local trips, and we did some big trips. I remember as a youth, the first time we did a 5-mile backpacking trip, and then we did another one that was like a 10-mile backpacking trip, and we did a winter camp out where you camped out in the snow and those kinds of just fantastic memories. And so, Alan, I'd be curious a little bit about what are some of our Trail Life troops outings and activities, even what's coming up in the future here.
Sure. So I'm just gonna I've kind of got a list of things that I put together. We've done quite a few things. We typically try to do at least one activity and or camp out every month.
Okay.
Once again, winter does make it tough. We have done some winter camping. Yeah. It does make it tough with these colder temps, and it's more for the older boys. But so
it'd be different if you did winter camping a few states to the south versus where we are. But
and it's gear too. A lot of it's just lack of gear. Just at this point, we're trying to build that. But so I'll just go through the list of things we've done. Each year it's become a tradition now. We've actually done it 3 years now. We're helping with the Operation Christmas Child, and we load the big trucks. That's been great with all those shoe boxes. So that's each November we're doing that. This is kind of the pinnacle at the end of the year for the boys for activities. Is we do an annual Nerf battle lock-in. So
nice.
we go in the gym and the whole CLC into the building, and it's kind of it's a blast. All ages, the men, boys alike, everybody just has a blast shooting each other with Nerf guns, and we do a big breakfast in the morning, and it's a lot of fun. And then in the winter, actually should be coming up here in March as well, is an indoor archery range shooting day. One of the members of our church here, Bob, he helps out, and he's an avid archery man? How do you say that?
I don't know what
archery
the term
fella.
is.
And so
guy.
he works with the folks at the archery club, and they allow us to come in for the day, for a few hours, and they give us access to the range, and that's a lot of fun. We do that. So we've done that a couple times already. So this will be our third year. Let's see. The Navigator and Adventure. So those are our older boys. They do typically camp throughout the year. We've done some snow camping, winter camping. Let's see, the first year, our first fall as a new troop. Oh, I take that back. It would have been our second fall. We went on a 5-day trip up on the Gunflint Trail, where we camped and canoed and hiked and fished. That was some good times there. Let's see, each Palm Sunday, so 2 times so far. So hopefully again this Palm Sunday we We serve a pancake breakfast for the congregation.
Yes.
So that's fun. All the boys jump in.
That's become a great little tradition around here. I think folks look forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just in it, even who was it? Mac is putting on his apron, flipping the pancakes. But no, that's always fun. And then each spring and fall, we try to do an all troop camp out. So this is where all the dads, all the boys, everybody gets together and have a big camp out. That's always a big draw. That's always been fun. Our first May camp out we did like that. We had just awesome aurora borealis, and that was really neat to see. A lot of the boys were already in their tents, but some of the dads we stood out there, and that was awesome. And then let's see, we biked a portion of of Lake Bemidji.
Right.
We've done a hike through Lake Bemidji, as well as going up to Lost 40, and then just on and on. There's quite a few things we've done. It's been fun. In the future, here in a couple weeks, we were going to be going to Duluth for a water park, but logistics and other things that didn't pan out. But we're going to go to the Bemidji Bowl and spend a couple hours there and probably do some arcade and pizza and stuff. And then we character challenge course in Park Rapids. That might be for the older boys. They said we could do the younger boys. We'll see. And then May, that'll be our first. I call it the Mother's Day weekend camp out because it's right around Mother's Day. We try not to do it on Mother's Day, of course, or that weekend, but it's near there, and it's also a play on words for mud. The first year we did this, we got the boys dirty, or tried to. There's a lot of mud available.
All the snow melt by then.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then one key thing we're trying to do at the end of this season, we have a lot of boys that are aging out of our adventure program. So we're trying to get a multi-day trip planned for them. And really, and when it comes to planning for the older boys for any of these activities, this is part of that mentoring, part of the development, life skills. They're doing the planning. We're coming alongside them, helping you kind of ask leading questions sometimes. But if they ask us a question, it's more, turn around back onto them and ask another question, right? Let them develop their
develop some of those kind of leadership skills.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you'll call me if you guys ever do a backpacking trip on the North Country Trail or the Superior Hiking Trail,
for sure,
because those are fantastic, and it'd be fun to do some backpacking hiking with you guys.
We have some. I didn't even know what Isle Royale was.
Yes.
One of our adults had mentioned. I was like, that's definitely a goal. We want to do some Boundary Waters trips.
There you
go. There's a lot we want to do. It's just getting to that point. We'll get there. Right now it's baby steps. I think
we've come a long way. And is this year 3 of?
It is. So this I guess it would be October will be 3 years.
Okay.
So we're on our 3rd year.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well, let's get practical here then, Alan. So if somebody listening to this podcast says, you know what, I know a boy, I know a young man that might be interested in something like Trail Life, what would be the process for maybe a parent or a grandparent or something like that to say, we want to check this out?
Yeah, so the first thing I would recommend, if you know nothing about Trail Life, if it's a totally new concept, new name, everything, just search it. Just go ahead and Google search, or type in your browser, traillifeusa.com, and that'll take you to their website.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job. There's a lot of good information, a lot of like I said, questions, answers, Q&A type stuff.
Yep.
They answer a lot of the big questions. That Q&A section is very informative. Go through there for a bit and whatever, and get a feel for it. And then, of course, you can reach out to me. There's a couple different ways you can do that. The best way, maybe not the best, but another way you can reach out to me is on the Trail Life's website. There is a Find a Troop. I think it's on the splash page. The home page is this Find a Troop. Go ahead and click on that, and then you'll be prompted to put in your zip code, and you'll see a map there at that time of all the different troops. There's little red dots all over the United States, and we are one of those dots here in Bemidji. So when you punch in your zip code, it'll then pop up another page to put in just some basic contact info. You hit submit. That'll generate an email to me directly. So, I'll have your name and your email address, and then I'll reply to you and, basically say, hey, I see that you're interested. How can I help you? What kind of questions do you have? And then that starts a conversation. We can get offline at that point, either a phone call or text or however. Another way is just go and reach out to the church office here. Yep. Jessica can pass along your information. She can get your information to me, and then I can reach out, call you, text you, email you, whatever, however you want to communicate. Find me in church. I'm more than happy. There's quite a few men running around that are helping us out as well. So if you know any of these names I've said today, reach out to these guys too.
If you see a guy in a Trail Life uniform or a Trail Life hat, just ask him.
That's right. That's right.
What about maybe if a dad or other men, just even maybe some other men in our church that maybe don't have boys at home anymore or don't have sons, and they're like, boy, that Trail Life thing sounds pretty interesting. Is there anything I can do? Is there any way I can serve? What would be the opportunities maybe for other adults to get connected?
Yeah. So the first thing is dads. That's kind of the easy answer there is if you're a dad and you have a boy age 5 to 17, and even if you've never been involved in any sort of scouting or an outdoor program type deal, but you're interested and you want to jump in, just come see us. It's there is a process to become a registered adult. It's fairly simple. Mm-hmm. We do youth protection is important. Yes. Every adult leader needs to be essentially vetted, and it's they're somewhat interviewed, if you will, by ministry staff or and they also do a background check and so forth. Right. A lot of this, it's a fairly simple process, but we want to make sure the boys are safe. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we have to think about these things. Yeah. So once they go through there, there is a registration, adult registration fee. It's about $32 or something that gets paid directly to Trail Life and whatever. And then they have you fill out a background check and so forth. So it sounds complicated. It's not too difficult.
No, it isn't.
But we encourage, if you want to be part of this program, and we encourage all dads to be part of the program, to become a registered leader. Yeah. Because of the youth protection safety requirements we have to make sure we have at least 2 adults, at any given time, per group of boys. And, so there's a lot of logistics we have to consider there. So if you're going to be here as a dad, helping out, you might as well be registered,
right?
And that gives us a lot of help along the way for planning down the road and whatever. And then we say dads. So some of the boys don't have dads. Maybe they're not no dad. Their dad is not in the picture at all. And that's honestly where my heart is too. I feel I want those boys to be here. Yeah. To experience this program. We've had boys that have never been camping. They've never been in a tent or put up a tent. They've and that not just boys without the dads that are here, but that goes for all of them. Yeah. But it's this program just gives the opportunity for these boys that maybe they don't have the dad around to have other men come alongside them and mentor them. Yeah. Godly men. Once again, it's a safe place for them to experience this program. And then so for our more senior or well-seasoned folks, we certainly want to encourage men to step up, and even if it's so I mentioned Bob. Hi Bob. Bob pretty much comes out. He's done a couple different events with us, archery related, and that's his thing. Perfect. Bob's, that's awesome. So if there's something that and I've had a few folks come up and ask us, hey, I like slingshots, or I do this and that. We can use you, even if it's just once a year, you're coming out to help out. Right. Let's do it. We have a couple men that are part of our committee, our troop committee. Yep. Their boys are old. They're grown. They're grown.
5 to 17
they're grown
range.
And out of they're out of the house kind of deal. And but their heart is with this program and to serve the Lord in this way. And that's special. It's sweet to see that. And so, there's many different avenues.
Yeah.
There's some dads that, they come and just kind of in the shadows, and that's fine too. We still want to encourage them to jump in where they feel comfortable.
Right.
There's no pressure, we certainly want to encourage you to be there. So, and then my last thing about that is Trail Life. What I've found and what I realized really early on is this is as much of a men's ministry as it is a boys' ministry. Yeah. This is not just a youth ministry. As you can imagine, all these different activities, all these different things we do together, it's the men are doing it, sharing it too. Yeah. So that's been sweet.
Yeah. Good. So if a guy is maybe interested and says, "Boy, I'm not crazy about sleeping on the ground in a tent," there are other opportunities to connect and serve and to be able to bless some of these boys and young men in this ministry. So this is good. This gives us a good, really big picture of Trail Life, and I'm hoping that our church family, if you're listening to this, and you see announcements in the bulletin and events about Trail Life, that you think back to this and say, okay, now I have a better picture of what those guys are doing on a Tuesday or at their camp out or with their activity there. So this has been good, Alan. But one of the things I like to do on this podcast, kind of to wrap things up here, is at the end of every episode, I'm going to just ask one more question. It's not really directly related to the discussion topic, but here at our church, we talk about becoming deeply devoted followers of Jesus together. And the question I like to ask is, Alan, what's maybe one thing that you have been blessed by lately that is deepening your devotion to Jesus?
So for me specifically, when I was, I guess we would have had our first son. So I would have been in my early 20s, mid 20s. And we were going to a church, and my wife, Jessica, she volunteered me to do the coffee and donut ministry. Okay. So every Sunday, I had no excuse not to go to church, basically, because I had to do the coffee and donuts. But that got me, I guess, in the habit of being around like-minded individuals, other brothers and sisters in Christ. So that being said, for me right now, that is my biggest, just being around like-minded individuals here at eFree, and then more specifically, this Trail Life ministry. Yeah. It's provided just wonderful opportunities to see how the Lord's working in my life, but also others who I'm blessed to share and serve alongside in this ministry, and that goes for the boys, seeing how they're working together, how they're growing together, all different ages, and the adults as well. So just the fellowship we experience, it renews and deepens my hope and faith in Christ, really at every turn.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, good. This has been really good to get to know you a little bit more, Alan. I hope folks are blessed by that and get to know Trail Life. But folks, that's going to do it then for this episode of the Deeply Devoted podcast. Just a reminder, we are still taking questions for our future Ask the Pastor episode. Send the hard ones. Send the deep questions, or even send some of the silly questions. I'll give the silly ones and the hard ones to Jerry, and I'll take the softball questions. But no, that'll be fun when we get that one going. My thanks to Alan Castor for being on the podcast, joining me today, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Until then, have a great week, and thanks for listening.